It's Father Francis, the Faith Guy, with a reflection on this fourth Sunday in Ordinary Time. Today we're going to look at perhaps one of the most well-known and even beloved of all of Jesus' speeches in the New Testament, the Beatitudes, or as some people refer to it as the Sermon on the Mount. But before we do that, I want to say that I can't help but see some similarities between the Sermon on the Mount and a recent movie that is playing in movie theaters here in America. And it is entitled The King's Speech. And it is I guess you would call it a docudrama. It's basically a retelling of the story of King George, also known as Bertie, as he ascended to the throne of England, and the problems that beset this young man at the time. Historically, most people know that his brother Edward was the one who was destined at the time to be the king. He was the one who was groomed and being prepared. But because of his relationship with Wallace Simpson, he abdicated and left poor old Bertie in the wings, who was really not expected ever to be a monarch. And the problem was, as the story goes, I have yet to see the film. I'm looking forward to it. But, he had a speech impediment. And here he is. He's going to be the King of England on the eve of the Second World War. There's lots of tumult in the world, a lot of fear in the world, and the king needs to be the sovereign. He needs to be the monarch, and one of the things that a king does is he's able to speak, hopefully words that will arouse and encourage and instill hope and dispel fear. And so anyway, the story is an interesting one, and I have yet to see the movie, but I am looking forward to it. That being said, it is very interesting that today's readings remind us. We see Jesus in the Beatitudes, and what does he do? Well, because he is the King of Kings, he rallies the poor people, the disenfranchised, the outcast, the forgotten ones. The lonely ones, the ones who are seen to be as not very significant, not very important, people that have no value, the poor people, again, the outcasts. And he rallies those people to him, and he speaks these words which are very, very powerful, liberating and encouraging. Now, there is one thing I would say about the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, as beautiful as they are. Unfortunately, today, in our day and age, I don't think they speak, well, they certainly do speak with the same power and authority. They will always do that. But we, as quote-unquote, and I use the word modern kind of loosely, because today's modern will be tomorrow's, old-fashioned. And when we look at our lifestyles, we look at the way we live now, that may be radically changing for many people. The thing is that we live in a society, for the most part, where we don't really have to think that much. I should say not. There are some people that certainly do. But a lot of us live a very comfortable life. We have a lot of modern conveniences. We are lucky and blessed to live in a time when, at least right now, we have medical miracles that can literally save lives, whether it's the little infant in an incubator or an elderly person who would probably die without medical assistance, and prolong their life and even give them a good quality of life. And so a lot of people today sometimes that one of the critiques about Christianity is, well, that's just pie in the sky. And maybe to some people, the Beatitudes are like pie in the sky. Jesus says, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for, they shall be filled. Blessed are the peacemakers, they'll be called the children of God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are you when people say all sorts of bad things against you and persecute you unrighteously, unjustly, all for the sake of the gospel. Rejoice and be glad. It's a radical mindset, because most people today in secular society with a secular outlook would say, well, that's nothing to rejoice about. That's not good news. And yet, I think when we stop and think about it, there are a lot of people who have very good lives. They're born with maybe certain advantages that maybe some people don't have. Maybe they have certain gifts, talents, abilities. Maybe they're athletic. Maybe they're good looking. Maybe they're able to certainly obtain the goals that they set for themselves. And so life for them is good. And sometimes people forget that everything that we have, again, whether it's our health, our wealth, even our jobs, our families, everything ultimately comes from God. And there will be a time for all of us where we're going to have to say goodbye to a lot of these things. Whether it's old age, it's infirmity, it's just a bad economy, whatever it is, sometimes we will be visited, and we're going to realize, wow, where did it all go? Where did my youth go? Where did my good looks go? Where did my money go? Where did my friends go? Where did my family go? And we begin to realize just how ephemeral the human condition really is. And so when you are faced with that bitter reality, then the words of Jesus sound very, very comforting and very encouraging and very empowering in many ways. I would like to say that it's not, if you read the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes, it isn't really pie in the sky. Jesus says, blessed are the, he basically says, blessed are you when. And he doesn't say, because you'll be blessed, in some afterlife later. Now, he does say that, certain parts of the Beatitudes, he does say, for great will your reward be in heaven. Because we recognize that there is a heaven, there is a hell, there is an eternal life. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves of that. Again, this life is ephemeral. I don't care, again, how strong or how powerful you may think you are, how wealthy you might think you are. There will come a time when you will have to let go of everything. And then you will have nothing, except you will be facing God face to face. And on that day, what kind of an account will you give? How will you acquit yourself? How will you be able to say, Lord, the gifts that you gave to me, I was able to help others with those gifts. I was able to be of service to others. But again, I think many people live for the moment. I think we're learning a powerful and painful and bitter lesson about trying to live for the moment and not prepare for any kind of future. And so now, as things begin, as we see in our society, beginning to take some radical turns, a lot of people now are starting to maybe kind of sober up and realize, wow, maybe I need to pay more attention, not only to the material life, but to the spiritual life. And that's what Jesus tries to get our attention in the Beatitudes, is that real life isn't just what we eat and drink and what we can touch and what we can feel, but it has a lot more to do with how we receive the Spirit of God inside of our lives. And God longs for us to know peace. He longs to us to know His face. He longs to us to know the feeling of being full of good things. So when we hear these powerful words of Jesus in the Beatitudes of the Sermon on the Mount, we have to recognize that they aren't just pie in the sky, but they are, if you will, be of this attitude. Be of this attitude now. And you will begin to reap the benefits and the good things that come when we are of the attitude of Christ in our daily lives. Well, This is Father Francis. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you like it. Please leave me a comment. Until then, may God bless you. Thanks for watching.